Ladies and gentlemen, Game Week 17 is in the books, and as customary, as part of our videos now, James and I would like to ask you, we have a 2023 target of hitting 1,000 subscribers this year. I want to say we're like 25 away. So if you watch our videos, if you like what you see, do us a favor, please scroll down, hit that subscribe button. It would mean a hell of a lot to me and to James. Right, James, let's have a quick kind of reflection here on Game Week 17. First of all, I think to point out kind of something that you wouldn't usually see on our predictions here, James. The Bournemouth-Luton game obviously was called off after Tom Lockyer had a cardiac arrest on the field. Supposedly, he's stable and doing well, but I don't need to, give any other references on the other players that have also had these kinds of issues in the past, been quite shocking, the likes of, Christian Eriksen, etc. So wishing him all the best and a speedy recovery, but as it relates to our predictions, as it relates to the Premier League, we don't know what's going to happen with that game yet, whether it'll be replayed or whatever. I'm still not totally sure on that. But looking at the rest of the game week, obviously, a couple of things really stand out. Man City, Crystal Palace, 2-2 being held at the Etihad. And then, James, you and I, 6-1, 5-0, Liverpool versus Manchester United, and a goalless draw for that one there. Anything, apart from the things I mentioned, anything really stand out to you there for game week 17?
Obviously, Jack, those two fixtures. But also, I feel like Spurs going away to Nottingham Forest in like winning. Granted, they have been on a bit of a decent run lately after their 5 match winless streak. But for them to go away from home, Jack, in a tough away ground, which a lot of top teams have struggled to get points in, Jack, for them to get all 3 points, really impressive from Tottenham. And big up to you for picking the right score there.
Yeah, guys. In terms of the in terms of the points and how we're looking here, James very clutch with his Chelsea, Sheffield United, getting 2 points there. For me, 6 correct results out of 9 is really good. It's a shame I couldn't really top those up with any correct scores in there as well. But 6-5 on the game week for me. So we need to update our totals here. So that's 109 for me and 109 for James. So neck and neck again. Some people say it's scripted. I promise you it's not. Nobody can script the Premier League. But let's get on to game week 18 here. Just scroll down a little too far. James, we'll start. Crystal Palace versus Brighton. We've got it here. Both of us gone for 1-1. Did that City result really impress you? And are Brighton still not playing to the levels they should be?
Yeah, Jack, a bit of both. I feel like Brighton, the European stuff has really kind of like halted their season point of view. Like they aren't flying the way that they were last season. And Jack, Crystal Palace is a tough away game for like many teams. And like you mentioned, the Man City result, Jack. When you look at their recent history there, it really isn't a surprise. They went to the Etihad on a number of occasions and were able to get results. Granted, 2-0 down against City at the Etihad is almost like death to a lot of teams. Them were able to come out was quite impressive there. I just look at both teams right now and I just see it's like a stalemate. Granted, Brighton have the ability and a bit more quality going forward, and that might edge them. But me looking at the way a Roy Hodgson team is built, it's looking like a boring 0-0, Jack.
Yeah, look, I think much the same. Again, I'm going to kind of repeat what I feel like I repeat all the time. It's Roy Hodgson. So again, we're not going to have Crystal Palace do something they shouldn't be doing or be in some sort of relegation battle that they shouldn't be in. They are going to be right at that level. And a home game against a probably better caliber of opponent like Brighton, but not playing well, that to me just has 1-1 written all over it. There's no tactical analysis here. It's just the way that the results start to fall for this Palace team. As it relates to Brighton, we're still waiting to see them, recover some of that early season form that they had. The likes of Matoma and Gross and Evan Ferguson, João Pedro, and these guys starting to step up and actually, reclaim where they were before, which was so impressive. But I just can't see it going forward. And again, that game against Man City, I watch all the press conferences of all the managers, and Pep Guardiola will tell you himself, City were by far the better team, but they were the ones who gave away the penalty to give Palace the opportunity, and the opportunities they did have, they didn't finish, plain and simple. Villa versus Sheffield United. Yeah, pretty convincing here. Unai Emery, for me, I'm kind of close to saying maybe manager of the season thus far. I mean, Villa have been so impressive, not only with the results, but also the performances. You know, strong and solid at the back. Even losing somebody as important as somebody like Tyrone Mings is absolutely massive. So for them to still be doing well there. And again, lots of young, exciting attacking threat as well. And this Villa team have been kind of outperforming way above what they should have been, while still having the likes of a John McGinn and kind of the old reliables knocking around in that squad as well. So again, Sheffield United, big disappointment at home. I just think Sheffield United will go into the game with no optimism, no hope. Shipping 4 goals, because I think Villa may be able to get you from a set piece early on. Then Sheffield United have to come out, more space, more areas to play in for Villa. So an easy 4-0 win. James, much the same for you?
Yeah, and Jack, you mentioned Unai Emery right there. Let me give you an interesting stat. In 2023, Villa have recruited the second most points in the Premier League, just behind Manchester City.
Wow!
And that's in Jack, and I think they're only like a few points behind City when we're talking about points made all together. That just shows you the sort of job Unai Emery has been able to do with his team. And I'm just looking at a team like Sheffield United right now. It looks like barbecue chicken. For them players that, you know, your Ollie Watkins, you know, your Leon Bailey's, players there that can really hurt them. Even like a John McGinn right now, who's coming to his own after losing his place at the start right now. It's hard to bet against Villa, and for some weird reason right now, the Villa fans having a bit of a title charge, but let's see what happens there.
Speaking of titles, only one team really seems to come to mind, and that is Manchester City. Little bit of a wobble recently. And again, I will just speak to this very quickly. I am a massive nerd when it comes to this stuff, so I like to watch all the managers' press conferences before the games, after the games, just to get an insight into how they're feeling, how the dressing room might be feeling, and seeing if I can get any extra info that not only will help me with these picks, but just help me with my own information. Pep is very matter of fact about, you know, the fact that, yeah, okay, you can outplay teams and have more possession and have more chances, but at the end of the day, if you're the one who concede the chances and concede the goals when it matters most, you're going to drop points. That's the way. There is no deserve. The deserve is the scoreline at the moment. And I think he's well aware that City do not deserve the results that maybe they would have gotten in the past because of lapses of concentration, lapses of judgment within the team. And I don't want to use that word complacency, but maybe it just starts to creep in because you play for 85 minutes really well, and then you can just get stung at the end. So I still think this Man City side are going to be able to beat Brentford. You know, I don't know the deal with Kevin De Bruyne and when he's going to be back, but, you know, as these weeks start mounting up, we're going to get closer and closer. I do think Brentford will be a threat and that City may not be so self-assured, so they might ship a couple of goals. But James, we haven't said Erling Haaland's name with a great deal of love for a while, either through injury or just kind of a little bit of lack of form. I just think maybe he'll get back into the goals at home against Brentford. Similar story for you?
Well, like, let's see if they're fit. Interestingly enough, Jack, last season Brentford were the only team to beat Manchester City away from home, so that's a big thing. And then they're going to come in there with a bit of confidence, knowing what they did last season. But the biggest thing for City, Jack, is that they're scoring goals 2, 3, 4 every single week. The problem right now for Manchester City compared to last season, Jack, they're conceding. You know, Jack, every team's vulnerable in from the counter-attack in transition. But City look even more vulnerable than ever before. Before, even with the way City played, it was hard to get at them when that ball turned over. Now, Jack, when that ball does turn over, the amount of times I'm seeing a player like Diaz get caught in it. Who is the Croatian defender?
Guardiola.
Yeah, Guardiola. Apologies there. He hasn't really adapted to this new role of playing left back. So there's just a lot of stuff there that's unsure with City, but it is City, and no matter what's going on, you have to respect 3 times in a row treble winners. They are still the best team, not only in the Premier League but in Europe. So we have to respect that.
West Ham, Manchester United. Obviously, very interesting game. It felt like everybody had Liverpool blowing Manchester United out the water at Anfield. 0-0 draw. Actually, if you look at the history of the fixture, any time over recent years that Manchester United have gotten anything at Anfield, it has been 0-0. So maybe a more predictable result than we would have thought. Manchester United, I think, will be relatively pleased with that. So I'm going to just go on the basis, James, that Manchester United are a very, very injured team. And I saw a tweet come up, and maybe this is worth a conversation for you and me in a separate video. But they looked at the starting 11 from Manchester United last year that, quote unquote, did so well, right? By winning a cup, finishing, I believe it was third, and, doing okay. Nearly the entire starting 11, except for, I believe, Bruno Fernandes, has been fit for most of the season. The defense is constantly changing. It's a different goalkeeper. The midfield is constantly different. The forward line is completely different. And again, it's all due to absences. I think it's really important that somebody like Lisandro Martinez comes back into this team. The likes of maybe a Casemiro comes back into this team. And I just think the longer and longer this goes, the more and more players are going to be coming back from injury. And this Manchester United team may actually start playing half-decent football at some point. We know the results have been okay, but the eye test has been the major problem. I wonder if this away game at West Ham, who've been okay, but in terms of their performances, not as good, if they're going to maybe start to turn it around. I still think it'll be close, but in a game where you'd think, maybe they'll lose or maybe they'll draw, I can just see them snagging a win because, James, let's remember, that game against Anfield was Manchester United's first draw of the season. You have it a little differently. West Ham, pretty convincing, is a 3-1.
I wouldn't say convincing, but Jack, the thing that I look at there is that as much as Manchester United play well, they struggle away from home, Jack, and especially against the top echelon sides right there. It's a bit more of a harder way to try to find that victory. I look at West Ham, and granted, the striker thing is a bit of an issue, but when you have Bowen playing the way he is, Lucas Paqueta playing the way he is, and a big one right now, probably the biggest performer, Kudus, just absolutely coming into the Premier League and just taking the absolute mickey. Right now, they got a lot of stuff there that can really hurt this Manchester United team. Jack, you mentioned a bunch of injuries there. The team that, granted, they got a point at Anfield, and I thought we were a bit naive to think that Manchester United were going to go there and going to just happily leak goals like they did last season. But overall, Jack, the performance wasn't good.
No,
it wasn't. They didn't do enough to show you that okay, they can go away and hurt a team like West Ham. Granted, every game's different. But I just think that West Ham's a little bit more quality going forward can hurt this Manchester United team.
James, North London rivals Spurs, Everton at home. I really struggled with this one, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but the fact that we've both got a 2-1 scoreline says to me that we were both maybe a little hit and miss on how this one might go. James, biggest factor for this one for me was just the home fixture. If this was at Goodison Park, I'd probably pick the scoreline that you've gone for, but I just think Heung-min Son's really embraced this captaincy. Richarlison's now putting a couple of goals together in consecutive games, which I think is a game changer. We're starting to see the likes of Kulusevski maybe coming back to some better form. You know how much I rate him. The inverted wingback really bombing on in terms of a Pedro Porro or a Destiny Udogie seems to be really, really good as well. Obviously, a little bit of a shame with the red card for Yves Bissouma. I think that will be a big deal. But somebody like Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, you know how highly I think of him. He can come in and deputise quite nicely, especially at home against an Everton team who, again, are outperforming, I think, what anybody expected. I just think Spurs are going to have enough to take the 3 points, but I think it will be close. You have the reverse. Why is that?
Jack, Everton, 4 wins in a row, and especially with what has gone on, Jack. They finally shown that they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. Players responded, the crowd responded, and also the manager has responded right now. Jack, right now they are officially the form team in the Premier League in the last 4 games, and it's hard, Jack, to bet against them, Jack. And also in them 4 games, 4 clean sheets, which is quite impressive there. Granted that they are going away to Tottenham, and Tottenham with the way that they're playing is difficult, and I do believe in this game Everton are going to suffer. Yes, Spurs have suffered a lot of teams this year, made it difficult for a lot of teams, but they also give teams like a 15-minute period where teams can really get stuck into them, and especially if they don't put them away, like they think about it, like they didn't do against Aston Villa, like they didn't do against West Ham. If Everton are just still in that game, set pieces, Calvin Phillips, not Calvin Phillips,
Calvert-Lewin,
Calvert-Lewin, just players there that can really hurt them. I can see Everton just somehow, some way snagging another victory, Jack.
Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth. One I found really, really tricky to think about because, again, I don't want to get too ahead of myself with Bournemouth and Iraola. Obviously, especially due to where I'm from, I'm a huge proponent of South Coast football doing well. I love seeing Bournemouth, Brighton, etc., Southampton, whatever, hopefully coming back up, doing well. This was a tricky one for me, though, because, again, Nottingham Forest is a team I do not have a good feel for at all. At all. I really, really don't. Again, we know the individual players, we know their backgrounds, we know the talent, but do we know how that pieces together? Do we have consistency? I'm going to say probably not. And I feel like over the last month or so, we have seen Bournemouth string together some play and some performances that is reminiscent of what Iraola wants out of this Bournemouth team. Again, I do think that Forest are better equipped and have greater talent across the board. Yes, okay, they're also the home team, but I've just got more optimism and more faith in Bournemouth going forward to just sneak a 2-1 win. I think it will be close, but if a Solanke, if a Justin Kluivert, somebody can just pull something out, I can just see Bournemouth kind of sneaking this one 2-1. How do you see the game going?
Jack, the exact same thing. Like when I look at Nottingham Forest right now, a team who lacks a lot of confidence. And the thing that worries me, Jack, the most is that they're lacking confidence at home, which is a bit of an issue. Something that last season that Jack they really put their pat on. Last 5 games, Jack, 4 defeats, 1 draw. Not looking good. But on the other hand, Bournemouth, Jack, 4 wins, 1 loss in the last 5 games. No. 4 wins, 1 draw, and Jack, that draw was a 2-2 draw against Aston Villa, who like right now, arguably the form team in 2023. Again, I just look at the form and where both teams are going right now. One team's projection right now is going up. The other team right now looks like it's lost confidence. And the thing that people didn't talk about last season was Nottingham Forest manager. He seems to be under a bit of pressure and seeing what's going to happen, because granted the 3 teams there's 3 poor teams in the Premier League this year that have all came up, but Nottingham Forest look like they've dragged themselves into an uncomfortable relegation battle. But I just like right now with the way Bournemouth is playing, don't want to disrespect them, and I believe they'll go out 2-1 winners.
Fulham versus Burnley, really, really interesting one, purely because I think that Fulham are the kind of clear winner that you think of here, but I still have this lingering thought that we're going to see a championship of last year Burnley come out and play at some point. I'm still going for the 2-0 win. It's great to see Raul Jimenez back and amongst the goals. It's great to see, hilariously, how well Willian has been playing for most of this season as well. And obviously, I'm a big fan of Marco Silva and what he's been able to do with this Fulham team. But James, every time I pick against Burnley, against the team that's probably within arm's reach that they're capable of beating, I do just wonder, are we going to get a 22-23 season Burnley performance from Vincent Kompany's side that just knocks our socks off? So I feel comfortable with the 2-0, but I just wonder when that's going to come, and maybe it'll come at Craven Cottage. You've got Fulham scoring 1 more, but Burnley getting 1 as well.
The thing that gets me right, Jack, is that they're back at Craven Cottage, Jack, and the last 2 games for Fulham at Craven Cottage, 5-0 against West Ham, 5-0 against Nottingham Forest. So guys, the team's going to come back at home. Crowd's going to be excited, knowing Jack, knowing the type of goals that they've been able to see their team score in recent games at home. I just think that bit of confidence right there is what's going to ride them through. I think I was a bit generous with the 3-1 because I was thinking of going a little bit higher there, but I'll stay on that too.
I was going to say, you want to stick with it or you want to bump it up?
I'm chill, Jack.
Right, James, we'll stick with you. Luton versus Newcastle United. 1-0 for me, 2-1 for you. You can see Newcastle doing this despite their bad away form.
Yeah, despite their bad away form. Luton, a team this year that has went ahead against Liverpool, has went ahead against Aston, has went ahead against Manchester City. But Jack, unfortunately, there no wins. Able to get 1 draw in that period. And Jack, I see a similar story here where Jack, they put Newcastle under loads of pressure, take the lead, and then that quality soon stream. Jack, we mentioned injuries. You can see slowly but surely Newcastle are getting players fit again. Callum Wilson is back. Isak is there. Bruno Guimaraes, they're getting players back into it. And like the fact that they're out of the Champions League completely, this might just give them a bit more focus to just focus on the Premier League for the rest of the season. So I see 2-1, 2-1 Newcastle, with Luton coming really close, Jack, as they've done in a lot of the big fixtures this season.
Yeah, similar to you in many, many ways. I do think that Newcastle United are getting fitter, and I do think that this away form won't last very much longer. The moment you have the much, much better team, expectation goes up, and you'd expect them to win more of these games, even if it is going away to Luton. The one thing I'll say about Luton is they are plucky. So what I will say is I think it will be a lot of Newcastle pressure on Luton, but they'll stand firm for a while. But then we know what's going to happen. It's a bit of individual brilliance, whether it's from a set piece, whether it's from Trippier, Isak, Callum Wilson, you mentioned, Bruno Guimaraes, one of these kinds of guys, Gordon as well. I just think they'll have enough to make the breakthrough. And unfortunately, again, it's a shame for Luton Town, but they're just not able to compete at that top level. I do, however, they've grown on me so much to a point, I really want them to stay in the league. And that's one thing I'm really hoping for. James, goes without saying, game of the week, Liverpool, Anfield, against Arsenal. You've gone for 2-2, especially after seeing the game against Manchester United. How do you see Liverpool doing against your Arsenal at Anfield?
Ooh. Oh, Jack, I'm caught in two really weird minds right now.
What,
me basing it off what I've
seen my score.
No. I don't see Arsenal winning.
Really?
That's the thing about it. So, Jack, I got two ways of looking at this. If Arsenal can go to Anfield and get a point, I'll take that.
Sure.
Last season, Jack, the reason why I said 2-2, because you had two teams who had the ability to go ahead and score goals. We seen that last season with the 2-0 draw. Let me give you a fun fact, Jack. Arsenal have lost 2 games this season in the Premier League. Both of them were 1-0. And both fixtures were on a Saturday, 5:30.
Oh my God! You're such a conspiracy theorist.
5:30.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna change it, Jack. I'm gonna go opposite way because I don't want to. I'm gonna say 1-0. I'm gonna say 1-0 Liverpool. Yeah. Sometimes, Jack, you just gotta go with the trend. Sometimes you just gonna go with the trend. The fact that Arsenal, it's a place that we haven't really traveled well, Jack, in recent years. A team that, let's be honest, has haunted us. We've had some bad defeats there, 4-0, 5-0. Last season, Jack, this was the fixture that really stopped us from winning the title after taking a 2-0 lead. So it's not a nice place, though, that Jack, we've been to in the last few years. And just based on the fact of 5 o'clock, 5:30 kickoffs on a Saturday, listen, I do believe in this sort of stuff there. So I'm gonna say 1-0 Liverpool.
Underwhelming. Liverpool against Manchester United, totally underwhelming. And again, people can look at the shots and the possession and blah, blah, blah. James, Liverpool weren't even close to scoring. They really weren't. All of these shots were from deep. They were deflected. They were telegraphed. It was easy to see. And the only kind of thing that really stuck out to me was, James, Mo Salah didn't have a good game. And it should not just be on one player to drag a team through, but sometimes it has to be. Now, Mo Salah is a human being, shocker. He's allowed to have bad patches of form here and there. I wonder if we're just getting into a couple of bad Mo Salah performances. Darwin Núñez isn't scoring goals. Diogo Jota's not there. Midfield's still trying to figure itself out. Andrew Robertson is still not there. Fabinho's still not there. Of course not there. All this kind of stuff. I just wonder, because to me it feels like Liverpool's results have been good, but they've not been playing that fantastically well. Arsenal have their guys back. Arsenal also not been playing that well, but especially with Odegaard back, especially with the amount of goals they're scoring, a little bit more free scoring at the moment. I just think it will be very, very narrow, but I think this will be a very emotional, passionate Arsenal victory. I'm just going out on a limb a little bit there, but let's see.
I've never wanted to be wrong so much in my life. I'll take a 2-1 Arsenal if that's okay.
Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Chelsea. James, we may as well just tap a tape recorder for what we're going to say about Wolverhampton Wanderers. But let's talk more about Chelsea here. We've both got 2-1. Are Chelsea going to start stringing together some victories here, or are we going to have a shock 3-0 loss here at some point?
Jack, with Chelsea, you never know. Against Sheffield United, the worst team in the Premier League, Jack, you expect them to get a victory. They're now going to go away from home, and Jack, trust me, when I was doing my predictions, Wolves were on my mind. Wolves were on my mind to take the victory, and Jack, I will not be surprised if they take the victory. But Cole Palmer's playing well. You know, Sterling is getting back into form. If Chelsea can get these guys going, you know, they have the quality to disrupt and also disturb this Wolves team. The question is, can they? And the question is, Jack, can they do that? Right now, I'm going to stick with Chelsea, but I will not be surprised if Wolves come out winners here. And then also, Jack, Chelsea haven't travelled well this year. A lot of away from home losses. So that's another thing that kind of makes me feel a bit uneasy about this prediction.
Guys at home, as per usual, we want to see your predictions down below in the comment section. While you're down there, drop a like on the video, hit subscribe if you're not already. These Christmas fixtures are going to stack on top of each other very, very quickly. James and I are neck and neck with 109 points as we're into game week 18. And also, I believe, if my maths is correct, game week 19, we're halfway through the season. So drop your predictions down below. And until next time, me and James, we will see ya.